Ah, young writer, I see you've come to me to learn about life pillars. Well, good news, because today on Write Productively, we're going to tell you what life pillars are and why you need to be interested in them as a writer. Hi everyone, it's Adrian here on Write Productively, the web series where we look at writers' productivity and look at trying to increase your efficiency as a writer. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and be sure to follow all my socials for the latest updates. So on today's episode, we're going to be looking at life pillars. Now, they sound like a really weird new age concept, but they're actually really useful. So I'm going to go into details of what they are, why they are applicable to you as a writer, and as bonus content, also how they maybe expand further beyond your writing and will be of use to you in your wider life. The best way to describe to explain what this is to tell you a little story. Many years ago, we're talking about 10 years ago, when I was writing my first novel and taking forever to write that, I used to have separate to-do lists. Now, you might say, well, what's the use of a to-do list? All you need as a writer is to sit down and write. And it's a little bit more complicated than that, I think, and we will go into that in future videos. But the problem I had was I had my writing list, so I would have, look, I need to plan out this next chapter, I need to edit this short story for an anthology I'm submitting to, I need to update my word tracker, I need to update my submission system with the latest rejection that I've got. All useful things to build up data for yourself as a writer. But I'd also have other interests in life. So obviously the most obvious one is like my house and home, and it's like, well, you know, I need to remember to put the washing on, I need to remember to go shopping, I need to remember to do the basic functions of life. But I had other interests as well. I'm an avid sword fighter, and I was really involved in that community, and so I would need to remember that I would help with their social media. So I was like, I need to post these updates to the website. I need to remember that I need to order some new kit because a piece of kit is missing, or I've got the finance for that. And then in my work life I would have tasks that I would need to do, and I'd have each separate one as a to-do list. And the big problem is when I had free time to do things, all these things that I needed to do, I was like, right, okay, I need to write, so where's my writing list and that thing. But at the same time, if I don't get this, there's an offer on a store that I can get, say, 20% off a piece of equipment, but it finishes tonight, so I need to do that order as well. And also, oh God, I've got no clean underwear for tomorrow, so I need to put the washing on. And what happened was I just got nothing done because I had all these competing to-do lists, and my writing just kind of disappeared into the background a lot of the time. I would still write, but a lot of the other stuff that goes around it that kind of supports my writing just wasn't getting done. And the reason for this was because I had 4 or 5 to-do lists. And I'll tell you now, like, for a lot of the things that we're going to be going into and we'll be looking into, there's no one way of doing it. Part of the fun of trying to be more efficient as a writer is to try and go on this voyage of self-discovery where we learn this is the way that I work. Classic example of that as a writer, which you've probably come across, is the architect versus gardener. Plotter versus pantser kind of thing, where if you've not come across this, you can find a huge YouTube video, loads of YouTube videos on it, but the basic concept is that some people, in order to write the story, they have to know how it goes, because otherwise they go off on a tangent and the story doesn't make any sense. It starts out as this historical romance, and it's a sci-fi vampire novel by the end of it. And you know, they never, so they have to, if they don't plot it out and plan it out, then basically they'll never get it written. And other people are pantsers or gardeners, where they kind of go, look, I know how this starts, I know the character, I'm going to discover the story with the character as I write it. And if they knew the ending, it would just destroy the motivation to write. The motivation to write is to say, well, why has this thing at the start happened, and to try and find out for themselves as well as for the character. So we have all these different approaches. So even when we delve into efficiency and productivity as a writer, we still have these differences of opinion. So, you know, you will find that some things that we'll talk about will be good, some things won't work for you. That's part of the experience of being a writer, I suppose. But one of the things I find, there are some things that I find that are core in most of the things that I look into, these different sort of productivity techniques, and trying to see if they can adapt to the writing sphere. And this is the concept of what I call life pillars. And it goes back to those to-do lists, basically. And what it is that you have different aspects of your life. Think about how you interact with people. Think about your different communities that you have. You know, you may, the easiest way to look at your social media, different groups that you're in, and different interests that you have. And you will act, you know, you act differently with your friends to what you act with your co-workers. And they're all part of the same you, but they're different aspects of you. And one of the things that I found, and it unlocks so much, is to understand this one simple concept. And that is, you might have all these different interests and all these different areas, but there's only one you. So having 4 or 5 to-do lists is useless, because there's only one of you, and that one person has to make a decision on which one they're gonna follow. So it makes sense to have one to-do list. That to-do list is for you, nobody else. Now, what then puts people off, and we will go into in future videos, is that you then end up with a gazillion tasks, and how do you prioritise it, and how do you work it, and how do you manage that. But the key unlock here is that you need one to-do list. But that's one to-do list to deal with all these different elements in your life, what I call your life pillars. So, you know, if you are, writing is going to be, if you're watching this video, writing is going to be one of them. You're probably going to have one which is kind of like the boring home, you know, everyday life. You know, remember to go shopping, remember to you know, wash your underwear. You know, all important, all those sorts of tasks, and that's that sort of home pillar. You might be, if you're like me, trying to lose weight, you may have like a fitness pillar. If you belong to a sports team, that's probably a life pillar as well. Now, the trick here is, it's very tempting to go, great, right, I need to work out what my life pillars are, and sit down and come up with a list of 20 long. And to start with, I would advise you, don't overthink it. Just think, what are the key areas in your life? What are you involved in? What makes demands on your time? And you probably want like maybe 5, 6 life pillars. As time goes on, you'll probably gather more. And some will maybe merge into others, and some will become less important, but that's fine. But to start off with, what I really want you to do is to kind of come up with these 6. And the reason for that is because what you can then do is, if you've merged all your tasks and all your activities into one great big long list, is because when we're trying to juggle lots of things, we want to put in checks and balances to make sure that, for example, classic example, fitness versus writing, or fitness versus gaming, or sitting at a computer. If you're sitting at a computer all the day, you're not getting your fitness done. So, you know, you might prioritise all your writing tasks and never do anything on your fitness, and then you become, you know, like most of us over the pandemic, put on tons of weight, and you know, you then need to start worrying about your health. So this is why the kind of concept of life pillars is really important, and it does also play. I promised you there would be some sort of bonus to this as well, and this kind of goes a little bit deep, but one of the things that you see, I used to watch, trying to get motivation and trying to get lots of things done, I used to watch a lot of vlogs and social media from athletes. And the reason for this was because at that time I was trying to sort out a lot of stuff. I'd been very ill, and I was, you know, on a bit of a fitness journey, and I felt like, watching like Olympic athletes would inspire me. And one of the things that I noticed was that athletes have a very short lifespan, because at some point they will pick up an injury that will mean that they can no longer compete at the top level. And what was very interesting is that there were two types of people. There were those that literally, who, you know, gymnastics, say, was everything to them, absolutely everything to them, and you know, they lived, slept, breathed it, you know, and you know, they were either Olympic athletes or near Olympic athletes. They were, you know, top of their game. And then comes the time when they need to retire. And some of them, who had other interests, kind of, you know, went, well, I'm retiring, but I've got this other life pillar that I can kind of lean into. I've got more time to do gardening or photography, or you know, or real estate, whatever their interest was. And then there were those who only had that singular life pillar. And what happened to them was that they fell apart, because those life pillars are all part of their identity. And so identifying what are your life pillars kind of helps establish, well, what's my identity? At some point, you are going to get a rejection. And when you do, that hits you in the gut. And there's going to come a point, whether you want to be a professional writer, you are going, or even if you want to just do it for a bit of a hobby, there's going to come a time when you question it. There's going to come a time when it gets hard. And if you've only got that singular life pillar, literally everything can kind of crumble. Whereas what I found has helped me is that when I'm having a tough time writing, and believe me, I can tell you stories, you know, and so I've had friends who their publishers have collapsed underneath them, and they felt that their career has collapsed. I've had other friends who spent years on a book only for it not to sell. It's, you know, the market's tough, and so I think for like your mental well-being and to keep you going, sometimes what you need to be able to do is kind of say, well, look, if I'm 80% writing and 20%, I don't know, streaming games on Twitch, say, if the writing gets to a stage where you just really are like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this anymore, instead of kind of having this massive crash and, you know, feeling a bit lost because you've put so much effort into it, what you can literally do is just say, well, actually, I'm going to swap those life pillars around 20/80. And it's very helpful, because what happens is that, you know, when you have that sort of identity crash, then it takes a long time to come out of that. Whereas if you have like a bad, bad review, bad rejection, you can kind of just scale it down, lean more heavily into another life pillar, and then a week or two later readjust if need be. So what I would really suggest is for everyone is to have a think about what your life pillars are. You're only going to have, as I say, you can go crazy on this, but I would advise think of 5 or 6, because this is really foundational stuff. Writing is quite mentally taxing, and because it is, it's easy to get discouraged. And so I used to think that, look, if I just was 100% in writing, then I just focus on that, be the best writer I could and things, but be the best writer I could, and things would go my way eventually. And I'm sure that I still believe that to some degree, but you've got to see yourself through the hard times. So it's healthy to have these other life pillars in your life, and I don't just mean doing the laundry, although that is important. So what I would suggest everybody do is we're going to be returning to this concept again and again, because what you will find out as we go through other videos is when we start organising our to-do lists, start putting those together and to-do lists, those life pillars are going to be vital. When we start organising all our notes and start trying to bring all our learning and kind of planning together, we want to bring that all into one system again, because we are one person. But how do we organise that? Well, we use the life pillars again. So I apologise, it really sounds quite new age, and it feels like some sort of life coaching, but in all of the systems that I've looked at and played around with and tried, everything kind of revolves around life pillars. And I think that having a good idea of what those are, it's a good way to kind of be very self-aware of who you are and what you're about. But it's also going to help you with building your own system that's going to help support you. So have a think about those. Why not, if you want to, list in the comments below what your 5 top life pillars are. And obviously, most importantly, if you want to find out how we develop this into a knowledge system and a task system, be sure to follow along. I'm going to be doing lots of videos in the next couple of weeks, and you may find them of use. So as I say, in the comments below, list what your life pillars are, and I'll see you for the next video soon.